The alien warship appeared without warning. It did not enter Earth's orbit slowly. It did not send a peaceful signal. It simply arrived, massive, dark, and silent, blocking the stars above the northern sky. Within minutes, every satellite camera turned toward it. News channels went live. Military bases went on full alert. People were afraid. The ship was larger than any human carrier. Its surface looked like black metal mixed with bone. Red lights moved across its body like watching eyes. Then a message came. This is the Dominion fleet. Return the predator creatures immediately. Failure to comply will result in planetary punishment. No one needed to ask which creatures they meant. The Varkans. Across the galaxy, the name alone created fear. They were fast, intelligent, and impossible to fully control. Many alien empires had tried to train them. All had failed. Entire research stations were destroyed because of them. But Earth had 3. And they were not locked in chains. Far from the cities, in a wide green valley surrounded by mountains, a secured research facility stood quietly under the open sky. Inside a reinforced outdoor enclosure made of layered steel and energy barriers, a young woman stood very still. Her name was Arya. In front of her were 3 Varkan cubs. They were not small like Earth animals. Even as cubs, they were large as wolves, but heavier, stronger, and covered in dark armored plates. Their eyes glowed soft blue, but when upset, they turned red. Right now, they were growling. Alien surveillance drones hovered high above the valley. The Dominion officers watched everything from their warship bridge. There, one officer said with a low laugh. The human female is shaking. Arya's hands were trembling slightly. Her breathing was slow but deep. The cubs moved in a circle around her. One snapped its jaws. Another scratched its claws against the steel ground, leaving marks. She is afraid, the alien commander said. Humans are always afraid. The cubs came closer. One jumped toward her suddenly. Back on the alien ship, several officers leaned forward. But Arya did not run. She did not scream. She slowly lowered herself to one knee. The cub stopped inches from her face. Its sharp teeth were visible. Its breath was hot and heavy. Arya looked directly into its glowing eyes. Then she did something that made the alien bridge fall silent. She reached out and gently touched its head. The cub froze. The growling stopped. The other 2 circled behind her. One sniffed her shoulder. The other pressed its armored body softly against her back. The first cub lowered its head. Not in attack. In trust. She is not dominating them, one alien officer whispered. Arya spoke softly, her voice calm and steady. Easy, you're safe. The cub's eyes slowly changed from red back to blue. The alien commander's expression darkened. This is impossible, he said quietly. Varkans do not bond. But they were watching it happen. Arya stood up slowly. All 3 cubs stayed close to her legs, not as hunters, but as protectors. A loud sonic boom echoed from the sky as smaller Dominion strike ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside the valley, warning alarms activated. Arya looked up at the dark shape of the warship above the clouds. She did not look scared anymore. She looked ready. On the alien bridge, the commander gave a cold smile. Deploy ground team, he ordered. If the human cannot control them, we will take the cubs by force. The drones zoomed closer. They saw something the Dominion did not understand. Arya's fear had never been for herself. It had been for the cubs. And now, the predators were no longer growling at her. They were staring at the sky. The Dominion commander did not order retreat. Not yet. He had conquered worlds stronger than Earth. He had crushed species with larger armies and stronger weapons. He would not turn back because of animals. Orbital cannons online, he said coldly. Target the adult predators. Disable them. On the warship's surface, massive weapon ports opened. Energy began to gather, glowing bright red against the dark metal hull. Down in the valley, Arya felt the air change. The adult Varken beside her lifted its head toward the sky. Its armored plates shifted slightly, like muscles tightening. The cubs moved closer to her legs. One of the alien soldiers shouted, "Commander, firing now will hit our units." There was a short pause. "Ground units withdraw," the commander ordered. Now. The alien soldiers ran toward their dropship. Their movements were no longer confident. They stumbled over rocks and dirt, rushing to escape. The dropship engines ignited. High above, the first orbital blast fired. A beam of red light tore through the clouds and struck the edge of the valley. The explosion shook the mountains. Dust and smoke filled the air. Humans in nearby cities saw the flash on the horizon. Emergency sirens began to sound across the region. But when the smoke cleared, the adult Varkans were still standing. Their armor glowed faintly, absorbing the heat. Small cracks appeared on the ground around them, but the creatures themselves barely moved. On the alien bridge, silence fell. "Impossible," an officer whispered. "Their armor has evolved." Arya looked up at the warship. "You should leave," she said quietly. The adult Varken beside her stepped forward. Then something happened that shocked both humans and aliens. The massive creature opened its mouth, and released a pulse of sound. It was not a normal roar. It was a frequency. The air vibrated. Birds dropped from the sky. The alien drones malfunctioned instantly, their screens flickering before going black. On the Dominion warship, warning lights flashed. Signal interference detected. Primary scanners offline. Weapon targeting systems unstable. The commander slammed his fist against the console. "What is that frequency?" An officer answered quickly, fear in his voice. "It's biological. They are communicating." Across the planet, deep underground facilities lit up with alerts. Long-range sensors detected movement in forests, deserts, even near frozen polar regions. Hidden Varkans responded. They were not scattered. They were organized. Back in the valley, the other adult Varkans lifted their heads and joined the frequency call. The sound rolled across Earth like an invisible wave. On the alien warship, screens filled with new signals. Dozens. Then hundreds. Large life signatures awakening. The commander's confidence faded. "How many are there?" he demanded. "No exact number," the officer replied. "But, this may not be a small colony." Below, Arya walked calmly between the adult predators. She looked small next to them. Weak. But none of the creatures moved without her. One cub rubbed against her leg again, calm despite the explosions in the distance. The alien dropship finally lifted off, racing back toward orbit. Another orbital blast charged above. But before it fired, something unexpected happened. The Varkan's combined frequency pulse hit the warship directly. The red glow on the cannon ports flickered. Power levels dropped suddenly. "Energy feedback," an officer shouted. "Weapons overheating." The commander stared at the screen. "These are not wild animals," he said slowly. Below, the largest Varkan lowered its massive head once more beside Arya. She placed her hand against its armored skull. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply whispered one word. "Stand." And every Varkan in the valley stood perfectly still. Waiting. The Dominion had believed humans were hiding behind monsters. Now they were starting to understand something far more dangerous. The monsters were not controlled by fear. They were choosing to protect her. And the Dominion had just awakened all of them. The first Dominion strike ship broke through the clouds like a falling blade. Its engines burned blue against the sky, and the ground in the valley trembled as it descended. Wind pushed across the grass. Trees bent under the pressure. Inside the alien warship above orbit, the commander watched closely. "Ground Team Alpha," he ordered, "secure the Cubs. Terminate resistance if necessary." Armored alien soldiers dropped from the strike ship. Their suits were tall, metallic, and glowing with energy shields. Plasma rifles charged in their hands. Targeting lasers scanned the valley. Arya stood in front of the enclosure gate. The 3 Varken Cubs pressed close to her legs, their eyes shifting from calm blue to deep red. They felt the threat. One of the alien soldiers stepped forward. "Human," the commander's voice echoed through an external speaker, loud and cold. "Step away from the predators." Arya did not move. "The creatures are property of the Dominion," the voice continued. "They were engineered for war. You are incapable of controlling them." The cub beside her gave a low rumble. The ground vibrated slightly under its weight. Arya gently placed her hand on its armored back. "They are not your property," she said calmly. "They are not weapons." The alien soldiers advanced slowly, rifles aimed. High above, the alien drones zoomed closer, sending live footage back to orbit. The commander narrowed his eyes. "She is stalling," he said. "Take them." 2 soldiers stepped inside the outer barrier. Their shields flickered as they passed through. The smallest cub moved first. It was the youngest, but the fastest. In a blur of dark movement, it leaped forward, slamming into the first soldier's energy shield. The shield cracked like glass. The soldier stumbled back in shock. The second cub circled wide, faster than the targeting systems could adjust. "Increase stun output," one alien shouted. Blue pulses fired from their rifles. The energy bolt struck the ground near Arya's feet. She did not flinch. "Back," she whispered softly. The cubs immediately stepped in front of her. Not attacking. Guarding. The alien soldiers hesitated. "They respond to vocal command," one officer observed on the bridge. "Interesting." But the commander's face grew darker. "Push forward." More soldiers entered the valley. The largest cub let out a sudden roar. It was not loud like an earth lion. It was deeper. Heavier. It rolled through the valley like distant thunder. The mountains answered. For a moment, no one moved. Then something unexpected appeared on the Dominion scanners. Multiple life signatures. Massive ones. Behind the valley, beyond the tree line, shadows shifted between the rocks. The alien commander leaned forward. "Magnify." The drone zoomed toward the mountain edge. And then they saw it. A shape larger than their armored transport. Dark armor plates thicker than tank steel. Eyes glowing like burning stars. An adult Varken stepped into view. Not 1. 3. The alien bridge fell silent. "That is not possible," an officer whispered. All adult Varkens were terminated during Project Black Claw. But they were alive. And they were on Earth. The adult Varkens did not rush forward. They walked slowly down the mountain slope. Each step shook the ground. The cubs lifted their heads and gave short, sharp calls. The adults responded. Not aggressive. Protective. The alien soldiers began to step back. "Commander," one ground unit transmitted urgently, requesting immediate extraction. The commander clenched his jaw. "You said the human could not control them," an officer muttered carefully. Below, Arya slowly stepped forward. The largest adult Varken stopped beside her. It lowered its massive armored head. Arya placed her hand against it. The creature, feared across the galaxy as uncontrollable, stood perfectly still. Then it turned its glowing eyes toward the alien soldiers. The message was clear. The Dominion had not found prey. They had walked into a den. The Dominion warship drifted slightly in orbit, its weapon systems flickering after the strange biological pulse. Inside the bridge, tension filled the air. "Stabilize the cannons," the commander ordered. "Prepare full bombardment." One officer hesitated. "Commander, long-range scans show Varkan signals spreading across the planet. They are responding to each other. It looks coordinated." The commander's jaw tightened. "They are animals." But even he no longer sounded certain. On Earth, governments were watching everything. Human satellites recorded the alien fleet's power build-up. Military leaders debated launching nuclear missiles. Arya knew they were watching her too. Her communicator activated. A human general's voice came through, urgent. "Arya, step away from the creatures. We are preparing countermeasures." She looked at the adult Varkan beside her. Its eyes were steady, glowing softly. "No," she replied calmly. "If you fire, they fire." The general fell silent. Above the clouds, the Dominion warship's main cannon reached full charge. A deep red light grew brighter than the sun. "This will end it," the alien commander said. "Fire." Before the blast released, something changed. All across Earth, hidden Varkans lifted their heads. Forests trembled. Ice cracked in polar regions. Sand shifted in deep deserts. Then they howled. The sound was not loud in the human sense. It was deep and layered, vibrating through rock and metal. The pulse shot upward, invisible but powerful. On the Dominion bridge, every console exploded with warnings. Massive resonance spike. Energy feedback in primary cannon. Shields destabilizing. The red light in the cannon twisted violently, then collapsed inward. The explosion did not fire toward Earth. It detonated along the warship's outer hull. The ship shook hard. Officers fell from their stations. "Damage report," the commander shouted. Outer armor breached in 3 sectors. Shield efficiency dropping to 60%. Below, Arya felt the shockwave ripple across the sky. She did not look surprised. The adult Varkan beside her stepped forward, claws digging deep into the earth. The cub stayed close, watching the sky without fear. Back in orbit, the commander realized the truth. The Varkans were not simply resisting. They were adapting. Every time the Dominion used energy weapons, the creatures answered with frequency attacks that targeted power systems directly. "They are learning from our weapons," an officer whispered. "They always were intelligent," another said quietly. The commander stared at the planet below. "Open communication," he ordered. Seconds later, a transmission reached Arya's communicator. "Human," the commander's voice said, colder but controlled now. "Stand down your creatures. We will withdraw if you return our property peacefully." Arya stepped forward into the open valley. The wind moved her hair across her face. "They were never yours," she replied. "You created them in chains. We freed them. They are weapons of war. They are living beings." There was a long pause. "You cannot protect them forever," the commander said. "The galaxy will fear what you are building." Arya looked at the adult Varkans spread across the valley, and at the distant mountains where more shadows moved. "They already fear them," she answered calmly. "Now they will respect us too." On the Dominion bridge, silence followed. The commander looked at the damage reports. Weapon systems unstable. Shields compromised. Unknown number of massive predators covering the entire planet. And at the center of it all, one calm human. He gave a slow breath. "Fleet, pull back to safe distance." The warship engines flared. Slowly, it began to move away from low orbit. In the valley, the adult Varkans lowered their heads slightly. The cubs relaxed. But none of them turned away from the sky. They were not celebrating. They were watching. Because even as the Dominion retreated, the galaxy had just learned something dangerous. Humans were not afraid of predators. They were raising them. The Dominion fleet did not leave Earth's system completely. They stopped at the edge of the moon's orbit, holding position like a dark storm waiting to return. Their warship was damaged, but not destroyed. And the Dominion was not known for forgiving humiliation. Inside the alien bridge, repairs were underway. Sparks flew from broken panels. Engineers moved quickly. The commander stood silently, watching Earth through the massive viewing window. "She stands with them like an equal," one officer said quietly. The commander did not answer. He was replaying the valley footage again and again. The way the adult Varkan lowered its head. The way the cubs guarded her without command. The way the global frequency pulse had acted like a shield. It was not control. It was alliance. And alliances were harder to break than chains. Below on Earth, emergency world councils were meeting. Some leaders were afraid. "We cannot let animals that strong roam freely," one human official argued. "What if they turn on us?" Arya stood before them through a live transmission. "They won't," she said calmly. "Because we did not break them. We did not cage them. We gave them a home." "Trust is not a military strategy," another official said sharply. "No," Arya replied. "But fear isn't either." Behind her, one of the cubs rested its massive head on her shoulder. Across the galaxy, other empires had watched the entire conflict. News channels spread the story fast. Earth controls the uncontrollable. Humans bond with apex predators. Dominion fleet repelled. Some saw Earth as dangerous. Others saw something else. Hope. Because many species under Dominion control knew the truth. The Varkans had not been created as natural creatures. They had been forced to evolve through war experiments. They were victims as much as weapons. And now they were free. Back near the moon, a Dominion science vessel requested permission to approach Earth. The commander stared at the request. "They claim they want dialogue," an officer explained. "Not battle." He considered it carefully. "We miscalculated," he said finally. The human did not hide behind the predators. She stood beside them. "And if we attack again?" the officer asked. The commander looked at the damage logs. "If we attack again," he replied slowly, "we may not survive the answer." Days passed. The Dominion fleet eventually pulled farther back, leaving Earth's system completely. Not in surrender, but in caution. In the valley, life became quiet again. The adult Varkans remained in the mountains, unseen but present. The cubs grew larger every week, stronger and faster. But they did not hunt humans. They played in the grass. They followed Arya like loyal shadows. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Arya sat on a large rock while the three cubs rested nearby. The smallest one nudged her gently. "You scared them," she whispered with a soft smile. But it wasn't fear that had driven the Dominion away. It was understanding. They had learned something the hard way. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the largest. They were not the most advanced. But humans had something rare. They could see monsters, and choose not to become one. Above the valley, new human satellites watched the stars carefully. Across the galaxy, empires updated their threat databases. Under Earth's classification, a new line was added. Do not mistake human calm for weakness. Because somewhere in a quiet valley, a young woman stood peacefully among creatures the galaxy once feared. And the deadliest predators in existence chose to stand with her. Not as tools. Not as weapons. But as family.